Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 2, called Starved for Help. But before we do that, we have a review. And our review is Dan and Jordan kill it episode to episode with this podcast. Engaging and easy to listen to. And man, these guys go into deeper dives on games than most podcasts will, and I am here for it. You want a podcast that's going to get right into the nitty-gritty of story points, characters, and everything else a game has to offer? Look no further. Couldn't recommend this one more, y'all. And from Good Great Andrew. So thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate the kind words. And also, Andrew and his friends Zach and Kevin have a podcast called Good Game, Great Game. They also do deep dives, so go check them out as well. They're awesome. That's a review. And then also, we wanted to say thank you to Adam, who's become a supporter on Patreon. So thank you so much. We really appreciate that support. And if you'd like to become a supporter as well, you can find out about it on patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I guess we'll jump into episode 2.
Sweet. Yep. Starting out, episode 2 of a 5-part game series set in the same universe as Robert Kirkman's award-winning series. With starvation and bandit attacks becoming as much of a threat as the undead, the group finds themselves seeking help and food from strangers at a local dairy.
Okay, so the episode begins, and we've got Lee and then Mark are in the woods, and they're hunting for food. As they're talking, we find out that Mark is a new guy to their group. He wasn't in episode 1, but our group found him sometime after episode 1. Also, there was a 3-month time jump between the end of episode 1 and the start of this one. And a big thing they're discussing is the limited supplies at the motel, that they just don't have food, that there's people who are having to skip meals because rations are that low. And also that Lily's running a pretty tight ship. That she's in charge, but she's difficult, and of course her and Kenny are continuing to argue.
Yeah.
Then they end up hearing a scream from far away, and they think that it might be Kenny, who's also out hunting. And so they run after him to, is Kenny okay? We gotta find him. And when they get there, there are 3 strangers there who they've never met. There's a man who's middle-aged, and then 2 teenage boys, and the man's leg is caught in a bear trap. So, very what the fuck. Why is there a bear trap?
I know, seriously.
Very crazy. Of course, because he's screaming, walkers are attracted by the noise and are closing in towards our group. Kenny also shows up because he heard the scream too and thought it might be us. And it gives us our first decision we've got to make this game, which is, are we going to chop David's leg off? David is the adult whose leg is in the bear trap. We've got 2 options. We can leave David to die here. 57% of people did this. Or we can chop his leg off, which 43% of people did, including both of us. And I guess also you do try to open the bear trap before this, but it's stuck. Mm-hmm. So it's basically like the bear trap has this leg. Like you can either lose the leg or stay. That's kind of your options.
Mm-hmm.
But yep, both of us chose to chop his leg off. Why'd you do that?
It seemed like the best choice, considering either he loses the leg or loses his life. Like it doesn't make sense to me to leave him there to die. So it is, a quick reaction. I was like, all right, got to do this. Sorry, man. Leg's gone.
Yeah, I felt in the same boat. It's like, at least if we chop your leg off, we've got a chance of helping you out, but otherwise you're just going to get eaten. And, there are way too many walkers closing in. And it seemed like we maybe had like a gun or 2. It was like we weren't going to be able to kill all these walkers.
Yeah, there's a lot. And then he was screaming some more, would probably keep coming. And it was, you had to do it quick.
Right. Some listener feedback on people and their choice. Chris on Twitter said, good old peg leg Dave. So he did the chop.
Yeah. Callum on Twitter said chop chop. So another one for the cutting the leg off.
Chris on Twitter said, I severed his leg from the trap.
Shane on Twitter says, I cut his leg off.
Carolina on Twitter said, if I remember correctly, I cut his leg off.
Thomas on Twitter said, let's just say that I made David into a ledge end, or a leg end. To be fair to him, he took it on the shin. I did what needed to be done. My team has high standards, but he certainly made the cut. At least I think I cut his leg off, if I'm dismembering my choices correctly. So that was a gigantic pun.
Yeah, I like that. Lots of creative pun ways to say, yep, cut it off.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. So, yeah, everyone was actually Team Us. We all chopped the leg off. We thought, this is better to do this. So, after this, Lee, Mark, Kenny, David, the guy without the leg, and then Ben's one of the kids. We head back to the motel, but the other kid, named Travis, he ends up getting killed during the escape. Because when we cut off David's leg, of course, everyone's grossed out. And in that, Travis kind of wanders off a little and is like maybe barfing or something, but then like trips on a rock and walkers eat him. So he wasn't long for this world.
Nope.
So see ya, Travis. We make it back to the motel, though, and Lily is pissed that we brought more people back. She says, what the fuck? We have enough problem with supplies anyway. We're struggling with food now, and you bring more mouths to feed? What's wrong with you guys? And Kenny and Lily continue their pattern of arguing here. Kenny's kind of attitude is, what are you going to do? Leave people? Like, you've got to help whoever you can, kind of. And Lily is more pragmatic, like, we can barely help the people we got. We're hurting everyone by trying to do too much.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Lily here, actually. I mean, you can't let them die, but I guess it's a different circumstance. If they were just randomly walking around, I wouldn't have brought them back. But since they really needed help quickly, it kind of makes sense. Maybe I agree with Kenny. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough spot because, like, in this, you just leave Ben there with a guy without a leg. Like, it's like you can't, like, you are just leaving him to die at that point.
Yeah, at least at least David.
Right, and then what? Ben has to run away by himself or something. So it's like not a good scene. But I do agree. I see what Lily's saying for sure. So then Lily makes us distribute rations because she's pissed at us. She's like, people give me shit all the time and say I'm a bad leader, but no one else is doing it. So you know what? Fuck you, Lee. You have to distribute the food this time. And for me, I was kind of like, I'm not necessarily mad at your leading, but whatever, I'll do it. Like, that kind of thing. Like, because up to this point, I don't think I've really talked any shit about her. I've been kind of more like, I'm more Team Kenny for sure, but like, I don't hate you. Mm-hmm. I hate your dad, but I don't hate you. Yeah, fuck Larry. But so for this, you've got 4 food items that you have for the 9 people that are there. So again, half the people aren't eating. So what I did was I gave food to Clementine and Duck first, because gotta take care of the kids. Mm-hmm. And then I gave food to Mark. I think mostly because I'm kind of like, he's the new guy. Like, I want to kind of get with him. He seems like a good, reasonable guy. And then I tried to give my last piece to Carly, but she said no. And so then I gave it to Lily. My kind of thought being is that each family more or less is represented. Like, although Kenny and Katja aren't getting food, Duck is. Mm-hmm. Although, and I wouldn't take food for myself first either, but that's what I ended up doing. Who'd you give food to?
For sure, Clementine, Duck, and I think I ended up I tried to give it to Carly. She also declined. I don't think I gave it to Mark. I might have given it to Larry and Lily, actually.
Okay. To try to kind of be on their good side.
Yeah.
Yeah, Larry was pissed that I didn't give him food, which is kind of what I expected. But, yeah. And in mine, Kenny was happy about what I did. He was like, you took care of kids first. That's what a man does. So thank you.
Yeah, same.
And so I was pretty happy with that as a distribution thing. So that was not bad. Then Katja calls us over to the truck bed where she's been working on David, trying to help him. And we go over and she tells us he's gone. He, I couldn't save him. And we're like, it's fine. Like, it was probably a long shot anyway. Mm-hmm. But then David comes back as a walker and starts trying to, like, pull Katja down. But then we get Katja out of the way and are kind of wrestling with Walker David. We don't have any weapon for a while because we gave our axe to Mark, who was working on the wall. So it's kind of a struggle for a minute before we finally slam his head right into the side of the truck until he's dead.
Yes, I didn't give my axe to Mark, so I just killed him with the axe.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Even better.
Yep.
I didn't have the axe, so I think I had to do that. Because I decided to lend it to Mark, which I was like, I don't want to give it to Larry, but sure. And so Kenny is pissed, and he's like, what the fuck, Ben? Why didn't you tell us he was bit? You asshole. Like, this is your fault. Like, he's mad. Typical kind of Kenny. Mm-hmm. And Ben is like, wait, you guys don't know? And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Ben says, everyone comes back as walkers. When you die, that's what happens. It's going to happen to all of us. And our group has kind of the, oh shit moment.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, huge reveal for them. And they kind of are like, oh, that's how it got so bad so fast. Anyone that died was one of them immediately. It's not just the bite. Mm-hmm. So that's heavy. That's a big thing to learn, for sure. And then a little bit after this, two guys who we find out are named Andy and Dan St. John. They're dairy farmers. They show up and they ask to trade for gas. And at first we're kind of skeptical. We're like, who are these guys?
Yeah, where'd you come from?
Right. But they say, hey, we've got food. Like, we'll trade food for gas. And we're like, fuck, we'll take any food we can get, basically. Uh-huh. And they say, we've got a dairy farm that's nearby. We could take some of you to it if you like. Like, whatever. We want to work out something with you guys. And so we say, okay, cool. That sounds great. And so we send a small group to go check things out. So Lee, Mark, Carly, and Ben go to the farm to, see if it's safe, see what's really there, all that sort of deal. Mm-hmm. And on the way, we see two bandits who are arguing with one another. They both seem like idiots, really.
Yeah.
And then one of them shoots their companion in the face with a shotgun and is like, who's talking now? Like that. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And then wanders off, and we're like, okay, there's some crazy fucking people
already
in these woods.
Yeah.
Right. It's like 3 months in, and, being a crazy degenerate is in full session.
Yep.
So we make it to the St. John Dairy Farm, and Lee and Mark stay behind at the dairy farm to kind of check things out, to help with chores, make sure the place is safe, all of that. And then Ben and Carly go back to the motel with some food. The St. John's mom, Brenda, she came down with like biscuits and maybe some other food and was like, hey, take this back to your group, like share it with them, and you can bring them back if you want. And we're like, okay, we'll scope it out. You go back to them and come back later, or we'll come to you if there's a problem, basically. Mm-hmm. So from here, as we kind of scope the place out, we see that the farm's got this electric fence that surrounds the whole thing, which is pretty sweet. That is a huge protection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really nice.
It's pretty tall, too. It's like a person's height almost.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it can't like crawl over it.
Right. Can't crawl over it. People can't just like sneak in unexpected or whatever. So pretty good setup. And we get the job to go and clear dead walkers off it, because sometimes when walkers get zapped by it, they get stuck on it or fall on it. And so our chore to help out is to knock walkers off of it so that the fence won't like come down anywhere.
I wonder how it kills them.
Yeah, that is a good question, because I guess could it fry their brain technically?
Yeah, probably.
Is that well? Because like an electric chair, like in real life, that does that destroy their organs or does it destroy their brain? Or I guess probably both. But
Well, I remember from Green Mile, they put the water on the head so like it zaps their head extra.
right,
But obviously the walkers don't have water on their heads. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it does. That's probably the
yeah,
idea. It probably fries their brains, mushes them.
yeah. I guess that it makes. I feel like it would be weird if you're even like if your brain wasn't affected at all by being like high voltage electricity.
Mm-hmm.
But but I guess if it didn't, then yeah, these walkers should be alive and be like just stuck because they're like burnt to it instead,
Yeah.
which would be terrifying.
Yeah.
So we're clearing walkers off, and we end up coming to one side of the part of the fence where there's this walker that's essentially like hunched over so much on the fence that the fence it's not down, but it's like sort of down. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we jump to the other side to like pull the walker off from that end. And when we do that, the electric fence turns on, which sucks. We're trapped on the outside. But then, of course, the bandits are there, and they start shooting arrows at us from like bow and arrows and crossbows, mm-hmm. and are yelling at us like, "We're gonna get you, liars!" and like that sort of deal. And in this experience, Mark is shot in the shoulder with an arrow. So from here, what we find is there's a tractor that's out there outside of the fence. So we kind of duck behind it for cover. From here, what we do is we like it has its parking brake essentially on, and so we unpark it, and it's kind of rolling slowly down the fence, and we're just crouched below it, kind of as a moving shield. And there's a couple times where we run into a dead walker, and it stops the tractor from moving, so we have to pull the walker out, and then it keeps rolling.
Yeah, it's very efficient.
Yeah, for sure. We reach the last walker, and it's a half walker, but it's not dead. So we like pull it, and it starts trying to claw at us and bite us, and then we just like toss this half torso behind us, which was like both scary and funny at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of some what's it, dark humor.
Yeah, totally. Then that's kind of at the last leg of like the tractor blocking our way as we're getting ready to be at the gate. And this last part of it, the half walker, the walker torso, is just crawling after us with his arms as we're trying to like cover and then run out, which was pretty cool. I thought this was a pretty good scare, actually. I liked how that worked because a torso chasing you is certainly frightening.
Yeah. Less frightening than a walking one. Well, I guess it's more frightening in some ways because it's weirder, but it's less frightening because you could just step on its head.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it just feels like it's like an ankle biter. Like
yeah.
It totally feels like one that would get you that way.
Mm-hmm.
After this, we make it back inside the farm once we go through the gate. The St. John's are concerned. They're like, "Oh my God, those bandits! They've never done anything like that. We traded food with them before. They said essentially, if you give us food, we'll leave you alone, or we'll protect you from us." Kind of a Savior's Negan style thing. Like, mm-hmm. You give us stuff, you won't have to worry about us. And it's like, all right. So evidently, St. John's have got themselves in a bad deal with the bandits, but this is the first time it's ever been violent. It's always been fine, as long as their deal has been going on. So then Brenda, she takes Mark upstairs to go treat his wound. She says, "I've got this. Come upstairs with me. I'll figure this out." And then after Mark heads upstairs, Clementine, Kenny, Katja, Duck, Lily, and Larry show up to check out the place. So Carly and Ben stayed behind to guard the motel so no one takes over their place while they're gone. but everyone else comes to check out the farm, hopefully get to eat, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we get that information. So then our group is kind of like, what the hell? You said this place was safe. And
Yeah.
the St. John's are like, no, it was fine. Like, we've never had issues. And so that kind of goes on. Some of them are, like, Kenny and some other people are really excited. Like, oh my God, we found a farm. This place is safe. We've really found the place. And then Lily and Larry, especially Lily, is a bit more like, we should have just stayed at the motel. We shouldn't, like, get involved with new people. Again, kind of being pragmatic, like when Ben got there in the first place.
Yeah, I guess my thought is if there's actually food there, it's better, even if it's somewhat less safe.
Yeah, I think it feels like their situation is pretty dire. Like, that, most people are eating every few days kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they're really in a pretty desperate place. So I think you probably do have to roll the dice on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And Larry's attitude is basically like, they seem like nice people. Like, I'm guessing he either is or was a country person at one point, or at least is fond of them. Like, that's kind of the attitude he seems to have.
Mm-hmm. A little extra trusting of them.
Yeah, definitely. Also, you get to, there's a swing that's out there, and you get to push Clementine on the swing, which was the best.
Mm-hmm. That's the best part of the game.
Yeah, definitely. It was so nice to be able to have Clementine get to do something nice, like, with how shitty everything always is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also in this segment, you can go and talk to Kenny and Lily and get a little bit more of their views on the farm and what they're thinking. And I didn't do this, but you can ask questions basically baiting them towards each other, but I just steered clear of that.
Yeah, same. Part of it too. Yeah, I just don't care what they think because they clearly don't like each other.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're ever gonna like each other, so it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah, what's the point?
Exactly. So from here, Dan St. John, he tells us, hey, I think I know where one of the bandit camps are. Maybe we can go check it out. If we gotta kill someone or find out what the deal is and make a deal, we can do that. Whatever. Let's go scope it. So we go with him to do that. We get to a bandit camp, but it has since been abandoned. So there's maybe like 4 or 5 tents around. There are like boxes from the Safeway that I guess the bandits had worked at or looted. And
yeah, they all work there. Makes sense.
Yeah. So it, just kind of an abandoned site. We move through and like look at stuff. We also see that there are a couple St. John dairy boxes, which I guess fit with them trading before. So we're like, okay, I guess that checks out. We end up finding a camcorder too, but it's dead. So we just tuck it away and we're like, all right, we'll hold on to this. And then also Clementine's hat is there,
Which is creepy.
which is weird and creepy. When we first get back to when we're handing out food, Clementine mentions to us that she lost her hat a few days ago and doesn't know where it is and asks us to help find it. So this definitely set an alarm in my head. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How are these people around Clementine? Like, they must know where we live now. Like, all those kind of thoughts begin to race.
Mm-hmm.
As we're getting ready to leave the bandit camp, this crazy Safeway lady shows up, and she's got a crossbow, and she's talking pretty crazy. Like, she's pretty unhinged. It's kind of like, motherfuckers said they were friends, but they wasn't, and like stuff like that. And you're like,
what?
It's kind of crazy. As she's talking, it sounds like she maybe had a daughter who was taken from her, maybe by the bandits or by someone else, which was weird. Not quite clear, but it sounded like someone she had was taken from her. And also, as she's talking, it sounds like she might not be with the bandits. Like, she kept talking like them as opposed to like, I was one of them, or they were us and now I'm not, or that kind of thing. So it was pretty weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very confusing. Not sure. Well, she's obviously very crazy. at least.
Right, definitely.
So at this point, if we have our second decision of the episode. We can shoot her or wait for Danny to shoot her because she's getting crazy, aggressive. Yeah, so we have a choice to make here. And neither of us, along with 60% of people, shot her. So we just waited, saw what she did, and then Danny ended up shooting her. And then 40% of people decided to shoot. Her name is Jolene. Shoot Jolene yourself.
Yeah.
So what was your thought?
And I wasn't going to hurt her, so I was kind of upset or thought it was a little sketchy that Danny shot her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, she was weird and aggressive, because she was crazy. So she made me kind of think if she was mad at us or saw us there, she'd probably try to kill us. But I don't know. Yeah, it still seemed like a crazy response.
Yeah, she seemed hostile and crazy, but I didn't feel like she was going to be aggressive quite. It could have happened, but it didn't quite feel like it. And I think she started to kind of be accusatory towards Danny when he shot her, so it kind of made me be like, all right, what's going on?
Yeah.
But again, he might have been right, because I guess if she is crazy and has a weapon and is being hostile, the jump to actually trying to hurt us is pretty close.
Mm-hmm. Still suspicious, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Chris on Twitter wrote in and said that Danny shot her.
And then Christopher said that Danny also shot her.
Yep, so none of us did the killing ourselves.
Nope. Reasonable people.
Yes, yep. After this, we head back to the dairy farm, and Andy, St. John, Clementine, Duck, and Katya are seeing the cow that the St. Johns have. And Katya used to be a vet, and so she's doing, it seemed like just maybe a routine checkup on the cow, essentially. And they're petting it and kind of just making sure everything's good with the cow.
Mm-hmm. I think it was pregnant.
Oh. Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And would be big for the St. John farm, too. If your cow is pregnant, going to have more cows, that's huge.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, and make that a place you'd want to live even more. You got several cows, that'd be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Also in this, Clementine tells you, hey, don't lick the salt lick, it's gross.
Yeah.
and we're like, how do you know that? She's like, I don't know. Again, the best.
Yeah. Any interaction is the best with her.
They really are. It's all great. I just love it so much. After this, we talk to Kenny, and Kenny is suspicious of the farm a little bit now. There's a door at the back of the barn that's locked, and he's like, Andy told me not to go back there, and he locked it up real fast. They're hiding something. So we're talking about it, and then Andy yells at us, and he's like, hey, stay the fuck away from the back, kind of thing. And we're like, all right, you've piqued my interest.
Yep. Suspicious.
Yep. So we come up with a way to distract Andy. What we end up doing is break the generator for the electric fence, because that's what they use the gas for. So they use the gas for the generator to get the electric fence staying up.
Mm-hmm.
So we go and break it. We just break a belt inside of it.
Which, if you think about it, it's kind of stupid, because what if there's a walker attack? There's no fence to protect anyone.
Right. It's definitely a little bit short-sighted, I would say, by Lee and Kenny to come up with this plan. It seems like there's other plans you could probably do to distract that don't leave everyone as vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
So as we're distracting Andy, we're getting ready to head back in, and dinner gets called. Everyone's heading in to go have dinner. So Kenny says, hey, I'll cover for you. You go check this out. I'll play dumb for a little bit, and that'll buy you time to check this back room out. So we open up the back, and there's slaughter equipment in the back, and there's blood all over it. And we're like, all right, this is fucking weird. And then Andy catches us and is like, hey, dinner's ready. Didn't you miss it? And we're kind of like, what is this? And he's like, slaughterhouse. Like, we do kill meat here sometimes. This is where it's done. We keep it locked because it's kind of gross and regular people don't like seeing it. And we're kind of like, okay.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it makes decent sense. Also, while you're thinking of ways to distract him, you can wander around the stalls, because there's other stalls for cows or whatever inside the barn before that. And if you look in some of them, there's one that has a bunch of old shoes and old clothing, which is sketchy, but a little sketchy. I thought it raised
it's sketchy to
a
me.
little awareness.
Yeah, and another thing that was sketchy too is so they talk about slaughtering animals in there, but there's only one animal. We've only seen one, and it seems fresh. So, the blood.
Right. Yeah, it does. And would you kill, if you had two cows, would you kill one? I mean, I guess that in one sense, desperate times would make you do it, but also, since they can make cheese and milk and stuff, wouldn't it just be better to be a vegetarian or whatever?
It seems like it.
So, yeah. So it felt a little sketchy. It wasn't red alarms necessarily, but it's I don't know. There's blood and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we head inside for dinner with Andy, and we say, "Hey, can we go wash our hands before?" We eat, and so they're like, sure, it's on the door on the left or whatever. So we sneak upstairs to do some snooping around. And as we're looking around, we end up finding there is this secret room, essentially, that is behind a bookcase. So it looks like what it actually is they've got an extension cord that runs through the hallway to this room. And then it was actually a bathroom, right? That had a bookcase in front of it, so it looked like the room was just a room.
Yep. Very tricky.
And very tricky. And we push the bookcase aside, and Mark is there, and his legs are cut off.
Yeah. Super surprising.
Super surprising.
Did not expect that.
No. And he tells us they eat people. That's where they get the meat from. They eat people. And so we're like, oh my fucking God, Mark's legs are on the dinner table.
Yep.
Holy shit. Mm-hmm. So we run downstairs and we tell Clementine not to eat it. She didn't eat it for me, so that was good.
Yep, same. I think you have to shout, don't eat that.
Yeah, I think that's what I shouted. And because there's 3 that you can yell, or 4 things you can yell, but only maybe one.
Yeah, one works. Mm-hmm.
So I got the one that worked, which made me very happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we tell everyone that these are cannibals, that those are Mark's legs, that he's upstairs, they cut his legs off, that they're not helping us, that they're cannibals, and they're bad. And there's kind of a lot of assorted reactions. Some of them believe us right away, but some of them are like, Lee, you're crazy. And we're like, he's fucking upstairs without legs.
Yeah.
Right. But we get knocked out by one of the St. John's, and we wake up inside of a meat locker. And so it's us, Clementine, Kenny, Lily, and Larry inside the meat locker. And they're banging on the door, saying, let us out. And they're trying to figure out how we can get out. We find out, too, that the brothers have Katja and Duck held hostage because Katja's a vet, so they think she's pretty valuable. Mm-hmm. Whereas the rest of us are food to be, essentially. And while we're trying to figure out what to do, Larry is banging on the door, and he has a heart attack.
Yeah, good.
And collapses. Yeah, collapses down. And this is where we reach our next decision, which is whether or not to kill Larry. Kenny is on team kill Larry.
For like dude, seconds after.
Right, because earlier we learned that everyone comes back as a walker. Mm-hmm. So Kenny says, we gotta kill him because if there's a 350-pound walker in here, he's gonna tear us all up. Which, yeah, accurate. Mm-hmm. Lily, on the other hand, is, that's my dad and he's not dead yet. Like, we can save him. We should do something about this. 51% of people tried to revive Larry, and 49% of people helped Kenny kill Larry. So what you do, including both of us, and what you do on this situation is you end up kind of dragging Lily out of the way, and then Kenny smashes a block on his head and kills him. Mm-hmm. Super intense.
Yeah, really graphic.
Graphic, super intense. For us, the first time we played this was huge. Uh-huh. Before, episode 1 and even episode 2 leading up to this point, we're like, fuck Larry. First chance we get, we're killing his ass. Like, fuck that guy. And then this happens, and we're like, I don't know. This is pretty wrong. Uh-huh. Like, can we kill this guy or not? And the inner turmoil was so there because our hatred towards the guy was at a 10, but then the opportunity we've been wishing for presents itself, and we're like, ooh, this is wrong.
Yeah, it feels too much.
Yeah. Which was incredible. I mean, for me, I feel like this decision alone, got me into video games in a way that I never knew existed, and really ultimately prompted being at a spot now, doing a podcast on these games. This decision was huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was the thing that I think sucked us both in. I remember talking about this for an hour or more after it happened. It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, so intense. For me this time, it was of course easier to choose to kill him because he's a douchebag. And also, if you choose to try to help him, Kenny kills him anyway.
Yep. Yep.
Kenny's just like, fuck it, bricks. He just goes for it. Mm-hmm. he just goes for it. So this time it was a lot easier. But that first emotional moment, we did try to revive him, and Kenny did it anyway. And we were kind of like,
oh well.
I'm glad I didn't support it, and I think it probably is better. But,
yeah. If you don't help, Kenny's kind of pissed at you. That's one of the reasons I did it, was just stay on his good side.
Yeah, that too, because I do know from playing before, of course, right now, is that I love Kenny. I'm Team Kenny. He's my guy. And, knew I felt that way before, so it was easier to go along with it this time than that first emotional time where we did not go along with it. Mm-hmm. Alyssa on Twitter, she wrote in and she said, I did help Kenny. Miley wants to protect Clementine at all costs, and a 300-pound walker is a problem. Of course, the whole decision was awful and not easy, and but I can see their reasoning. Which is, yeah, that's a good point. And I like her thought, too, is that how Miley is, he's protective. He's protective of Clem. That's his main thing. Because, again, everyone's leads can be different. If you want to have an asshole Lee, you can play that way. We don't. We don't particularly. I think that our Lee actually is probably pretty similar to how Alyssa plays, that protect Clem at all cost. And then for us, I feel like secondarily is Kenny's our boy. Our order of operations, I feel like, goes Clementine, then Kenny, then everyone else.
Yep, totally agree. That was also part of my decision as well. Would have been really bad if he turned. Callum on Twitter said, I helped Kenny, safest option for the rest of the group. Which is true. And Larry sucks.
Definitely. Yeah, and Larry sucks. covered the good reasons for sure of doing it. So after this, we tear the AC unit off that's inside the meat locker. And when we are able to tear it off, there are screws that need undone to be able to like open the gate part of it, essentially. And we're like, oh, no one has a screwdriver, of course. But maybe coins could work. Oh, you know who had coins earlier? Larry, in his pocket.
Let's loot his dead body.
Yeah. Lily, of course, is very mad at us. And I feel her. Makes sense. This was a good way of punishing us after this happened. I imagine when you have to search his pockets, if you didn't support Kenny, it's probably a lot better. But this one's pretty awful. She's like, oh, you're going to loot his corpse now? You murdered him and now you're going to loot his corpse? And you're like, I'm sorry, Lily.
My bad.
It really gets you. But we're able to get the vent open, and Clementine goes through the vent and comes out the other side and opens the door from outside. So that was awesome. Good work, Clementine. We tell Clementine to stay in the meat locker with Lily, just to be safe and, watch over Lily. And Kenny and I will take care of the farm and rescue everyone. So then we get to choose our weapon, which is fun. It kind of felt like an action movie where you're like getting the arsenal. And so you get to look at I think there's like a meat cleaver, like a saw blade, a sickle, maybe something else.
I think there's a cattle prod, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet. You're like, all right, what are we going to fuck him up with? Which I took the sickle because I thought it was pretty cool.
Me too. Yeah, that's what I grabbed.
Night. That's awesome. And Dan St. John is sitting in front of the barn. He's supposed to be kind of guarding us. And we sneak up on him and we get him with the sickle in the side. And then he tries to knock us down and he's getting ready to shoot us. But then Kenny hits him. We push him back and he ends up falling on a bear trap.
Yep.
And gets his leg caught in the bear trap. And he's down. At this point, we can choose to kill him or not. I killed him here. And stabbed him with a pitchfork.
Yeah, I chose not to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he was like, you have to save me, so I'm food. And I'm like, nah, you're just dead. Bam.
Yeah.
After this, either way, whether you kill him or not, you go outside, and Carly and Ben have shown up. And they say, we decided to come, we just had an uneasy feeling, basically. We thought we should come. So we're here now, and so we're like, cool, I'm really glad you're here. We're going to go this way. We'll head towards the house, and they're like, okay, we're going to sneak around the perimeter and see if we can find Katja and duck that way. So, cool, good plan, glad to have them helping us. Kenny goes kind of Leroy Jenkins on his own, though, so we're not with Kenny either. After killing Dan St. John or hurting him, Kenny runs off, and he's like, I'm finding my family. Yeah. He just kind of bolts. He doesn't have a plan. We get to the house, and Brenda has Katja with a knife to her neck. As we walk in the front door, she's right by the steps to head upstairs. And she says, don't come a step closer, Lee, or I'll kill her. It didn't have to happen this way. You could have been one of us. And we try to, talk her down. And what happens is that we take, a step or two forward. She takes a step or two backwards. And this standoff is going. And as she's moving up the stairs, we see Mark's arms headed through the banister. And we're like, okay, cool. I like this scene. She does not notice Mark, though. We take another step forward. She takes a step backwards, and Mark grabs her and starts biting her neck, which is awesome. Good self-trap. Take that, Brenda.
Yeah, stupid Brenda.
Yeah. Good to see bad guy go down there. So we save Katja from this. We begin to head outside to find Duck with her, and outside Danny has Duck held hostage. and Kenny's yelling at him like, give me my boy back and that kind of thing. And Kenny tries to rush him, which isn't the brightest. So Andy shoots Kenny in the side. Kenny falls down. And so then we take up Kenny's charge and start charging towards Andy. And Carly from further away shoots Andy. And Andy drops his gun. And when that happens, we jump on him and start punching him and attacking him and roll down a hill with him. At the bottom of the hill, we're on top of Andy, and we start wrestling him. We're fighting him at the bottom of the hill. Then Andy has the upper hand on us, and he puts our neck close to the barbed wire, and it turns back on.
Yeah.
Not looking good for Lee. It's getting close. At this time, though, Lily and Clementine walk out of the barn, and Lily sees what's happening, and we're like, Lily, help us. And she thinks about letting it happen to us,
which is kind of fair.
Right. Yeah, we did help kill your soon-to-be Walker dad. Yep. But she decides to shoot Andy in, I think, like the shoulder or the side, something to get him off us, but not kill him. So then we're on top of Andy. We're like sitting on his chest, and we're just pummeling his face. And you can choose to like keep pummeling him or stop. I just pummeled him all the way through till someone told me to stop. Did you stop earlier?
Yeah, I did it long enough till he wasn't dead, but he was not fighting back.
Okay. So I kept pummeling him until maybe like Carly's like, hey, it's over, you can go. And so I get up to leave, and then Andy yells back, come and fight me like a man, Lee. Like, grow up, that kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, fuck this. So I go back, and he like stands up to fight me, and I like punch him into the electric fence, and he dies. Which is pretty crazy. I didn't know that that's what would happen. So, I mean, I was going to kill him. I just didn't know that's what would be the case. So, by nature of what we've described, our kind of next decision does come up for us.
Yeah, so at this point, it's did you kill both of the brothers or not? So, 61% of people, including me, did not. And 39% of people did kill Andy and I'm forgetting his name. Dan. Dan.
I
was like, that's not his name, that's your name. But yep. Yep.
Both. I killed both of them, and it was his name.
So why'd you end up killing them both, other than just they sucked?
I think that like the kind of attitude of that they would do this to other people later on. Like, if they got a chance to be cannibals and do this again, they would. Like, it seemed to be their philosophy at this point. Like, Dan St. John, he was like, this is how it is now. You eat people to survive, but sometimes you're the food, kind of thing. And it was like, if you get away from this, you're gonna do the same thing to people. Like, so my kind of thought was that for the good of whatever humans are left alive, it's good these guys are dead.
Yeah, that's fair. I was torn between that. I guess I was thinking they probably weren't going to survive anyway, because Dan's leg was in a bear trap. Andy's really messed up. And then later on, walkers show up too. So it's... I was like, well, they're probably going to die anyway, and I'd rather not have to explain to Clementine why I killed people. It just seemed better, I don't know, to be somewhat innocent there, in my mind.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I did feel a bit bad killing Andy specifically, because our whole group's just watching after you like beat his ass and then throw him into electric fence.
Yep.
Like, you're like that guy. It's like, I feel like you're almost doing like the Kenny card, like the guy who takes it too far. Like, you got to be that guy, and you're like, Yeah, I know I killed the fucking cannibals. Like, which I didn't quite feel great about that either. I agree. I think my attitude, I think it was just like they'll do it to other people, so it's good to kill them. But I think the first time we did, so you didn't kill either of them.
No, I think we did the first time though, from what I remember.
I feel like the first time we might have did 1 and 1 because I feel like we didn't kill Andy and we left him because the farm was going to go and he was going to be alone.
Yeah.
And kind of that, like, you'll have to reform or, like, you won't make it on your own or, whatever. Like, I think that was kind of our attitude before. Chris on Twitter wrote in, though, and he said, I spared them both. So, like you. I feel like it makes sense because this is the first Walking Dead game, but I feel like in the later ones this would actually end up being 3 ones. It would be spared both, killed both, and then 1 and 1. Like it would be. I feel like it would be split, but I feel like since this is early Telltale, I'm guessing they hadn't really gone beyond the 2 option thing. But like in the final season and stuff, some of them end up having like 3 or 4 choices.
That's true. Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
So. Yeah, so that's kind of cool to see that the game. That Telltale had evolved from this time to then, which I guess it should, but kind of cool just seeing that, because this was one of the decisions where I was like, oh, it actually seems like there should be more than 2.
Yeah, at least 3.
After this, we're on the road heading back to the motel, and on the way back, we get to talk to a couple different people. We talk with Carly. We try to give her the camcorder, but she says, you can keep it, like, that's cool, thanks for the offer. We talk to Clementine, and she asked us about killing the people. For me, I guess she probably had a different conversation with you, but she asked me about killing the people, and I was like, they were bad people, they had to go.
We talked about it still. I didn't kill them, but she's still asked about them and why they were bad and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And then last, you talk to Kenny, who is like, hey, Lee, there's going to be fallout from this. Which is like, yeah, probably. And this is essentially a part where you can kind of reaffirm Team Kenny or like, bro, you fucked up, basically. Which, I affirmed Kenny because, again, Team Kenny.
Same.
I watched a clip where someone goes into Kenny though, and I was like, oh man, I can't. It was just weird because that's not how I play. But they like tear into Kenny and they're like, yeah, that was fucked up. You're a murderer. And it was like, oof, man. Like but I know there's like there are a lot of people who are Team Kenny, but there's a lot of other people who don't like him. So
I mean,
I'm sure
he's abrasive.
A lot of people. Yeah, he's very polarizing. I don't think he's a guy who's, like, in the middle for people, probably. I imagine he's a love-or-hate kind of character.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, after talking with Kenny, we continue walking, and we hear a noise. And it's a car that's open that's making, like, that ding-ding sound for the door being open, but the keys are in the ignition kind of thing. And we have the opportunity to steal from the car. And you've got some people who are really into it and others who are really not. 51% of people did steal from the car, and then 49% of people left the stuff, including both of us.
Yeah, the reason I did that was because Clementine didn't want you to steal. So, that was enough for me.
Me too, actually. I was actually thinking about stealing until Clementine said not to, and then I was like, all right. I'm if you don't want to steal Clementine, like, I want you to keep the values that you can and want to. Like, to me, cannibals need killed, like, that you have to, in my opinion. But stealing is a little bit either way. Within the group, Kenny and mostly Kenny, I think, was excited about stealing the stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Lily and Clementine and I think Ben weren't into it. I think Carly wanted to steal too. So it was kind of split. But Clementine not wanting to, that's good enough for me. I was kind of surprised as this episode did go through that a lot of the things Lily said I did agree with more than Kenny, but
Yep.
I'm still much more of a Team Kenny guy. So I was kind of surprised because I didn't remember disagreeing with Kenny as much and agreeing with Lily as much before.
I don't either. I honestly don't remember why I hated Lily so much, other than Larry.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that's what it was too, is because she was defensive of her dad, who I really didn't like, that if I just kind of lumped them together a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. That was kind of an interesting thing. Like, I still like Kenny as it's going, but, I think my attitude a lot with Kenny has been like, I like you, I'm on your side, but you might be wrong. Like, that, I felt like I was seeing that a lot this episode.
Yeah, she's not terrible.
Yeah, I can see her, like, points of view kind of thing a bit more. I guess, though, too, the ultimate, like, win for Kenny is, like, going back to save us last week.
Yep.
After Larry knocked us out. Like,
yeah, he's
like...
He's the dude.
Right. He's like, what are friends for? And, like, gets you and saves you from getting killed. It's like, all right, you're my guy. Like, you get it. Even if you're a real Florida man.
Yeah.
For real. Like, but it's like, nah, you're my guy, though. Cool. Alyssa on Twitter, she wrote in, and she said, I didn't take the supplies. While doing this doesn't compare to most of the much more awful things people do in The Walking Dead, becoming like those people starts somewhere. So I don't want to become a bad person, and I don't want to start that by stealing.
Or
right
teach Clementine to be bad.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yep. And Chris on Twitter agrees. He said, nope, I felt it was more important to set a good example for Clementine.
All right. PS on Twitter said, nope, didn't steal.
Manic on Twitter said yes, so stole.
Honey on Twitter said guilty, so they stole.
And then finally Wyatt on Twitter said, nope, left behind. Everyone is out there surviving, and even though it's tempting, I felt the repercussions might be harder to manage than just leaving it alone.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, especially because the car, like, it's dinging and the lights are on. Like, the person might not be that far away. Like, we did yell out, like, is anyone there? Don't shoot or whatever. But, like, they might not be that far away kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know. I'd be pissed if someone stole from us. So I don't really want to steal from someone else.
Yeah, don't want to start, like, a battle or a war.
Right. So there was concern with that. And if Clementine would have been like, yeah, let's steal, that probably would have put me over the edge to doing it. But because she said no, I think that made my uncertainty be like, okay, I'm gonna roll with Clem. Like, I think you're right. After this, we continue to move back to the motel. Our group, Kenny and those people, decide to steal from it anyway. But us and Clementine hold our ground. Like, Katja's like, ooh, here's a hoodie Clementine might like. And we're like, nah, we're good. Kind of thing like that. Carly, though, does give us batteries for the camcorder. And inside the camcorder, there's a video from the crazy lady, Jolene, from before. And she's actually been filming the motel.
Which is creepy.
Which is pretty crazy. Yeah. Super creepy. And this has me kind of wondering that she may have protected us from the bandit. When she's like looking in the video, you actually see her filming where Clementine's asking us about the hat. And she's like, little girl, I'm going to keep you safe. Like, no bandits will get you. And so it's kind of interesting. I almost wonder if she like kept a perimeter around us so that we never really saw anyone.
I just feel like she's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, she definitely might be. And then also, again, it seemed like her daughter may have been taken by the bandits at some point. She, again, said something like that, like, bandits raping little girls or something along those lines. And so it's like, these bandits seem especially bad. And I guess kind of affirming probably that she isn't one of them or is no longer one of them, at least. So I don't know. I think you're probably right. She probably is just crazy, but I don't know. It made me wonder that, which I'd never thought of before.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I don't remember thinking about that last time we played through this either. So maybe I'll watch some theory videos or read some theories about her online.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I wonder if there's something. I feel like someone on YouTube's had to have had like a good deep dive on her and like what could be or whatever, which would be cool.
Oh yeah, I'm sure someone out there.
Yeah, I guess this moves us lastly to a couple general thoughts about the game. One thing, which we have mentioned a couple times through it, but young Clementine is absolutely the best. I love literally anything she does. It's great.
Yeah, dude, same. Like the salt lick, that like 30-second interaction's great. The swing is great. Any mini conversation's awesome.
Yeah, they're all great. They're also enjoyable. Like it's, sometimes it can feel like chores talking to side characters in games. It's the complete opposite with Clementine. Like I'm like, I wish we could keep talking. Like you're just the best. I want to protect you. I love everything you say. Like it's just great. Yeah, it's awesome.
I totally agree. On the flip side of that, I guess, this was a super intense episode. Like, finding Mark with his legs cut off, having to kill Larry or not kill Larry, kill those two brothers or be in that situation. Like, there's a lot of really crazy stuff packed into, I don't know, 2+ hours of gameplay here, which is, I remember this being one of the crazier episodes of The Walking Dead. I think any of the games.
Yeah, it really is. It's super intense, and it's even for just being episode 2 of the game too. Like, even on the TV show, it took a while for things to get this crazy. I think Terminus shows up in season 5 of the show. So like,
yeah,
the fact that like we're meeting people like this already, like. The game didn't waste any time getting into, like, people get fucking crazy right away.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this now because it was my other point. But yeah, like, it's been, 4 months, maybe? 3.5?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and there's already cannibals with, like, a pretty decent, elaborate system of keeping people and eating them. It's crazy. It's like, man, you must have decided to do this like a week in or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. They clearly have been being cannibals for a while. Like they seem to have an efficient thing. Like they were talking when they had us held hostage. They were like, okay, we got to kill 5, then we'll keep 1 alive because the meat goes bad too soon or something like that. And it's like, oh my god, like what a bunch of monsters. Like they're like efficient. At killing and eating people, and even that bag of clothes and shoes and stuff like that. Like
they've done it to a lot of people.
Yeah, they've clearly played this same thing where they're like, "Hey, do you want to be part of our farm?" And then they kill you. And I wonder if their kind of thought is that like they'll try to convert you to being a cannibal, and if you're in, you can be part of their group, but if you're out, then they kill you and you become food.
That's probably how it goes. Yeah,
but
it looks like
it's crazy.
No one's agreed yet.
Yeah, I guess not. Really crazy. For my other general thought, I said this last time we played, and I think it again affected my decision some here, is that being deep in The Walking Dead, like having played deeper games, like further down the line in the game, but also like watching the TV show in season 9 now or whatever, like it's easier to be cold towards people, I feel like, for me in this game than I felt when we first played. Because I think that even The Walking Dead itself, like, it had a lot of dark things by the time we played this, but not dark like it is now.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like when we played this, it was probably around when, like, season 5 or something of the show was on. So it's like, Rick was still going through a lot of the, like, I want to be a good guy sheriff, but sometimes I have to do the kind of thing Shane would do, almost. Like, he's kind of going through that turmoil a lot, and it was good, in watching the show. That's how you felt as you're, like, becoming desensitized, or, like, wrestling with being in this new world.
Mm-hmm.
But now, experientially for us, since we've, experienced that world far deeper, where people are a lot more cold and, like, will kill people a lot easier and stuff like that. I felt like that kind of influenced how I played Lee a little bit, 'cause, like, killing the St. John's. Like, I'm not sure, like, I think we did 1-1 when we played before, but, like, back then I don't think I would be so quick to kill people, but now I was like, nah, fuck it. Like, you gotta go.
And I feel the same way, and I was really, like, I didn't care if I would have killed them, like, whatever. But yeah, there's something about having Clementine there that's like, I don't feel like killing them, so I'm not going to do it. I don't know. It's almost grounding, I guess. I don't know how else you'd say it, but
no, that's a good point. I think that's something I want to try to think about heading into episode 3, is, like, trying to get into the season 1 mindset, or the, like, Lee 4 months removed from being on his way to prison, I guess, or whatever, like, that kind of thing, like, to try to get that sort of attitude, because I think that's how I would like to play. I'm kind of recognizing, like, oh, my feelings towards this are a bit different because they've gotten a little colder from seeing how bad shit can get deeper into the show and games and stuff
much
like that.
Worse.
Right, yeah. But yeah, it's like these guys were bad for sure, but you meet way worse people, deeper into the Walking Dead universe. So, yeah. So that covers our general thoughts. Last up, we wanted to do something kind of fun, I guess, to choose our next game that we'll play after Walking Dead, which is we want to put it to a vote and see what you guys think. We'll be putting out a poll the same day as this episode is released, and the poll will be up for a week. And we've got 4 potential options. Our options are Mass Effect, the first game, BioShock Infinite, Shadow of Mordor, or Tomb Raider, I think it's 2015. It's like the new reboot one.
Okay, yeah.
So those are our options. I've personally played none of them, so I'm excited about all of them, and I've heard lots of good things about each one. I heard Tomb Raider is like just like Uncharted is, basically. Like, they're very, very similar and really good.
Yeah, I've played the first 3, but I haven't played Tomb Raider. But it's been a while for all of them, so I think I'd be pretty fresh, and don't remember much of anything.
Nice. I feel like they're all pretty good options. Mass Effect. People write in all the time saying, like, this is a game you guys have to play. You would love it. So that sounds awesome. And then BioShock Infinite, of course, we played the first 2. They were good games, and some people hold this one as the best one, so that's pretty cool. And then Shadow of Mordor, I know you're a big fan of those.
Oh yeah, I love those games so much. I love Lord of the Rings. I'm a giant nerd for it, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they all look awesome. So yeah, we wanted to put that to a vote. We'll put that poll out the same day this episode releases, though. You got a week to vote, and whichever one wins, we'll put that as the game we'll be playing once The Walking Dead's over. I guess also going forward, After Party's coming out at the end of October, so we're definitely going to do an episode on that.
Oh yeah.
From the creators of Oxenfree, we really enjoyed that game, and to do their next one sounds great. Lee actually is a voice in it, so if that incentivizes you at all. He plays Satan, which is awesome. It's funny. Can't picture Lee as Satan, but I've heard the voice and it sounds good.
Yep, really good voice.
Yeah, and I guess also this is way longer, but Last of Us comes out in February next year, so fuck yes, so excited. Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a PlayStation for that.
Yeah, for sure. Gonna have to figure out a way to get a PlayStation for that, and hopefully, I guess if it comes out, I think February 20th or something like that. So hopefully, sometime in March, we're putting out a deep dive in The Last of Us 2. But holy shit, am I excited for that? Also.
Oh yeah,
but,
it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, gonna be cool. So, yeah, I guess that's our episode. So, I guess a couple last things. You can contact us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Cast your votes there. That's where the poll will be posted. You can find our website at TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. You can email us, TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed@gmail.com. If you'd like to rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, we'd really appreciate that. That helps just kind of increase visibility and hopefully find more people like you and us who like these video games and get to share in that together. That'd be really cool. And if you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, you can find out about that on patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. The main thing is if you donate $1 per month, you become a supporter, and we release one exclusive episode each month that's only on Patreon for the supporters who back us. Earlier in September, we put out an episode on our favorite games from childhood, and each month we'll put out an episode similar to that where it's some topical thing like that. So yeah, that is the episode, and we will see you next time.
Later.